Well, it was the show that exposed the truth about Hollywood, created controversy with its portrayal of celebrity agents, and gained a huge worldwide following. The show was called Entourage, and it looked like this.
Everybody stop. I didn't go to the Lakers game because they were playing the Bobcats. And I came here today because I thought this was a session on how my wife could learn to communicate, how to answer a question without a question. Basic Humanity 101, which I thought, given your wall of diplomas, you could easily fix. Or if you couldn't, you could give her a pill that could either fix it or make her a mute. But now, to turn around and gang up on me, I have work to do. I have hundreds of clients to deal with. And just so we're clear, I don't care about any of them. They're all just a number, like wife number 1 and therapist number 7. Good day.
You're really only our 5th.
The legend that is Ari Gold. The creator of the show was Doug Ellin, who has launched Victory, the podcast. And this takes listeners behind the scenes of the iconic show. And Doug joins us now. Doug, welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, look,
Very
it's an
uncomfortable
honor.
watching that.
Oh, you don't have to be uncomfortable. It's Ari legendary stuff. You know, you created a classic television character there. Look, was creating this show the opportunity of a lifetime for you?
I mean, it turns out that it was. You know, Mark Wahlberg came to me and said he had like a loose idea about him and his friends. When he first said it to me, I actually didn't see much of an idea in it, but ultimately it worked. So, so I was glad he made the call.
Well, as you mentioned, the show's sort of based on Mark Wahlberg's experiences, you know, when he was an up-and-coming star. How much did he have as an input into the storylines, or was it just really that original, inspiration?
Well, it's really that original inspiration, and that's why I say it's uncomfortable to watch that scene because Ari's wife was based on my ex-wife, and those therapy sessions. Those therapy sessions were my wife and I really did find them very funny then. And now when I look at it, I'm like, I need to call her after this and apologize because that's really what our therapy was like. And
hang on, were you Ari Gold in that scenario? That's hilarious.
I was definitely Ari Gold, and my son played their son, so there were a lot of things from my life that ended up on the show. Yeah. And what's really awful is that now, because of the podcast, I'm rewatching the show, which I haven't done in years. And unfortunately, I'm divorced and have a new girlfriend. And my girlfriend watched it with me, and she's like, "That's you," and not in a complimentary way. She's like, "That is you."
Now we know why you said it was awkward. Yeah, we get it now.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, we touched a little bit there on some more tough times. You created this amazing success. But what has been the tough times for you in Hollywood itself?
I mean, so many. I mean, honestly, before Entourage, I had made 2 independent movies that both were released worldwide and picked up by studios, which is very difficult to do. But one of them, a movie called Kissing a Fool, was picked up. It was $1 million movie that got picked up and released around the world. It didn't make the type of money they were hoping for, and I could not get a job for a year. So I was thinking about going back to law school, and that was after making 2 movies and selling a bunch of screenplays. So I have seen the ups and downs, and that was after I had a child and a wife. So I've seen it all, and I used a lot of those things in Entourage. So
It's amazing, though, because you were working on a show called Life with Bonnie, which I actually really liked. You were a staff writer, and so that's how you were making your money. And you got plucked to do this show. How does that happen? How do you go from being a staff writer to being the creator and executive behind a show?
Well, the question is not how do you go from being a staff writer. What happened was Bonnie Hunt was in my movie that I wrote and directed, Kissing a Fool. And after it came out, I could not get a job. And my call to Bonnie was to beg her to give me a job, which she gave me. The staff writing job is the lowest level job. So I went from directing and writing movies that Universal Studios released to going on to a show. And Bonnie, obviously we know how talented she was, but she didn't have any use for writers on that show. So I basically, in that office, while I was making my essentially minimum wage there, I wrote Entourage while I was working on that show. But fortunately, I knew Bonnie because that was the only job anyone would give me after that movie came out, which is kind of hard to believe because before the movie came out, I was getting offers to do The Heartbreak Kid way before Ben Stiller and all of these other things. And then when the movie came out, it all evaporated like that. So
it's just incredible. You know, I also was going to say to you, I had this job where I worked with this guy who was my boss, who was similar age to me. And every lunchtime, we would watch Entourage episodes. He absolutely adored this show. He was a little bit like Ari Gold. But I guess the question I have for you is, what do you make of the controversy around the characterization of Ari Gold? I mean, at some points, his misogynism seemed to be depicted in a really confronting way. But is that a good role model? Is that a good person to have on television?
Well,
what do you think now?
I think what I think now is the conversations about who's a role model and who's not is asinine and idiotic to me. Is Tony Soprano a good role model? He's the serial killer,
No.
but it's a character that was based on somebody real, and most people who watch the show believed it was a very realistic portrayal of the real Ari and others as well. But more importantly, it is a character. And if you wanted to go into his real personality, he had a big mouth, but at the end of the day, he was a good family guy and a good father. But would I prefer people speak like that? No. So, but it was a character, so.
Exactly.
Well, this boss of mine he didn't really speak like that, and he was a fantastic guy, but, you know, I just thought it was so funny. He picked up probably the likability of Ari Gold, you know, from what I could see from him. But look, the best thing about this podcast that I absolutely adore is that you're bringing former castmates together, and there's this obvious bond that's still there all these years later. Is that authentic? Is that how it really is with you guys when you get together?
Yeah, I mean, listen, obviously not everyone, but for the most part, there was a large group of us on this show that were instantaneously best friends. And the show, while inspired by Mark's life, was really based on my group of friends that I grew up with. And I searched in casting for guys that were like that. And it really worked out. And now, I guess 16, whatever years later, which is hard to believe, we're all very close. And getting back in doing this podcast, it just picked up where it left off. And the good thing is people who are listening are like, it kind of feels like the show without the vulgarity, by the way. We're not very vulgar. We're not sexist. And in real life, never were either. So I hopefully people will check it out.
Well, Doug, I think we're really lucky to have the podcast because we can revisit the show. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to ask you one really hard question. Tell me, what was maybe one of a few best moments that you had while making Entourage?
You know, I mean, it's a question people ask me, which there were so many. But, I mean, we got Bono to say happy birthday, Johnny Drama, on my birthday. I don't know if I was 34 or 35, but Brian Burns, who wrote on the show and produced, knew Bono. And I walked into the office one day. I was kind of angry like Ari, and I was like, Brian, why don't you deliver something? Get us U2 and whatever. And he delivered it, and sitting at the Staples Center in a full crowd, he said, happy birthday, Johnny Drama in Spanish, and it was my actual birthday. That was pretty special.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's a good moment.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And you did work with a lot of great people. Doug Ellin is the creator of Entourage. Make sure you listen to Victory, the podcast, wherever you subscribe to podcasts. And you can watch Entourage here in Australia by subscribing to binge.com.au. Doug Ellin, Victory, that is an iconic moment in the series when Johnny Drama yells out Victory. And you have created a whole nother section for us to listen to. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Stay safe.
It's the Ben, Rob, and Robbo